meeting my online love in a hotel for the first time. But after a night of passion, she deleted and blocked me, the full package. And all I could do was stare at the message she left, claiming she was terminally ill. I just thought he was another passerby in my life. But at that moment, I had no idea that a piece of news about Aikun would blow up all over the internet that very day. Shocking news. The daughter of the village's richest man was misdiagnosed with a terminal illness at her own family's hospital. But what I never could have imagined was this. 10 months later, breaking news from Aikun's city, and it's another bombshell. The daughter of the village's richest man is searching the entire internet for the father of her twins. Just moments ago, I hit the jackpot. The next thing I knew, it had been transported to another world, but before I could even process it, a message suddenly popped up on my phone, legs 1.7 meters long. I'm at the Ritz-Carlton, waiting for you in the 888 presidential suite on the top floor. I opened the message. I was scrolling through the chat history between Qian Sheng and this person, judging from her screen name and profile picture. This user, legs 1.7 m long, was pretty confident. Even her profile picture is one where her face is covered. PO2X leg pic. In the photo, a pair of legs and black stockings are crossed over each other, covering up the key. Holy light areas. So, let's just say, if this photo is real, so as someone who's seen countless legs online, I've only got one thing to say. Whether it's a 10-year sentence or a 5-year plan, I'd say it's a good deal either way. After a quick scroll through their chat history, so I found out that this online friend, whose handle was 1.7 meter legs, was a girl I met online right after the college entrance exams. Today's the day they're supposed to meet in person. However, I was being extremely cautious about this. I opened our chat window. There is no turning back.
What if you stab me in the kidney?
Meanwhile, inside the presidential suite of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, Gyu Qinghan was sprawled on the plush, king-size bed. Her nylon-clad feet dangled and swung playfully behind her, her eyes fixed on the phone screen, were also filled with anticipation and sweetness. But when he saw the reply I sent, he was so furious that he started grinding his little fangs together. I wouldn't take it even if it were free. I can't believe this guy. After the initial fury subsided, Gyu Qinghan immediately pulled out the receipt for the presidential suite. With a click, she sent the message. Then she typed out 2 sentences, clearly annoyed. See for yourself. Are you even worth as much as this room for one night? After she was done with all that, looking at the contents on it, which she already knew by heart, Gyu Qinghan's gaze gradually grew distant and vacant. 3 months ago, he was diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer at a hospital under his own family's conglomerate. He was also told that he only had 6 months left to live, to avoid affecting the corporation. During the summer break, he didn't tell anyone about his illness, and it was also after that online encounter. The once cold and aloof CEO would often find herself grinning foolishly at her phone. That's right. Gyu Qinghan's first ever relationship was, of all things, an online one. And for their first in-person meeting, she chose a hotel. It wasn't that he was so in love with his online crush, but because she was the one who had to take over the family conglomerate right after her college entrance exams, so she wouldn't have any regrets, and decided to start that very night, to live it up one last time before her life was over. For that, she even went out of her way to buy a box of Nessa. Meanwhile, I was on the other side trying to make sense of that invoice. I counted the zeros on the amount on the invoice. I couldn't help but gasp. Damn, this presidential suite cost 108 grand for just one night. 8 yuan. Man, the original owner of this body really had it good. Just find some random online date. She's basically a rich girl. As I couldn't help but sigh to myself, all my doubts vanished in an instant. So, I didn't hesitate any longer. I pulled up the GPS and headed to the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Before long, I was standing right outside room 888. But this sudden thought made my excitement turn into hesitation. My hand poised to knock, froze in midair. After all, in our chat history, she was 1.7 meters of legs. And Shed never sent any photos of her face. All ID ever seen were all sorts of leg pics. But just as I hesitated for a moment, suddenly the door opened from the inside. All I felt was a sweet, fragrant breeze wash over me. Then, a fair, slender arm reached out, before I could even see who the owner of that jade-like hand was, and was suddenly yanked into the room. And then, everything literally went black. My eyes were covered by a piece of black, silky fabric. Through the black, silky fabric, I could vaguely make out a pair of legs that looked a mile long. And what a figure. As for her face, it was also covered by a black silk ribbon, preventing me from getting a clear look at her face. But judging by her rosy lips and well-defined jawline, legs 1.7 meters long. She's definitely not bad looking. I was just about to say something. Legs 1.7 meters long, with just a gentle push of her hand, and pushed me back down onto the bed. I could feel the softness of the large bed behind me. I was completely floored. Is online dating always this wild in this world? But the next second, the pure white sight before me confirmed it. And apparently it really was. God knows how I made it through that night. All in all, it was rushed and intense. The next morning, I opened my eyes. Wincing at my aching back, I struggled to get out of bed, but when I looked around, she was gone. If it weren't for the lingering fragrance on my body, I really thought it was a gift from God before I died. I let the memory wash over me for a moment. After what happened last night, I pulled out my phone and sent a message to 1m7. Where did you go? Why weren't you here when I woke up? But a notification popped up on my phone instantly. A notification popped up. Legs 1.7M. Enabled friend verification. You're not their friend yet. Please send a friend request first. I stared at the glaring red exclamation mark on my phone screen. Confusion washed over me. Why'd you delete me? Weren't you satisfied? But last night, we were literally begging each other for more, and you're still not satisfied. I was stunned for a moment. Refusing to accept it, I sent a friend request. Why'd you delete me? Do you have to be so heartless? You trying to get a freebie or something? But what I didn't see coming was, and she accepted my friend request almost instantly, and then she just straight up transferred me 7,000. And the note said, "This should be enough." I just stared blankly at the red pop-up notification of the transfer. I was instantly furious. I started typing again.
What is the meaning of this?
What kind of person do you take me for? But all I got back was that red exclamation mark. What is this supposed to mean? So, do I get paid for this? Is an 18-year-old's body really worth so little? I hesitated for a moment. In the end, I fought the urge to take that money. Sent another friend request. The woman. You've certainly caught my attention. But half an hour went by. Legs 1.7 long. And then radio silence. With no other choice, I just lay down to recover from the exhaustion. Just then, my phone started ringing. I picked up the phone. I looked at my mom's name on the screen. After a moment of hesitation, but I answered the call anyway. Son, have you arrived in Magic City? Do you have enough money to spend? If it's not enough, I'll send you some more. Hearing my mom's voice exactly the same as in my past life, a wave of warmth washed over me. Mom, it's okay. I have my own money. You and Dad should keep it for yourselves.
Ugh! Why are you bothering with that old hag?
Hold on, Mommy will transfer the money to you in a sec. Stop. Haha. I win. All right, son. Gotta go for now. Hold on. Mom will transfer you more money in a bit. Okay? The words were barely out of her mouth. And just like that, they hung up on the other end. I had just put my phone down. Feeling pretty pleased with myself, I was about to go back to sleep. But just then, my phone started ringing again. I was about to lose it. But then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw the caller ID, Dad. I quickly sat up and answered the call. Hello. A deep, authoritative man's voice came through. Dad, you made it to Modu. Listening to the vigorous voice on the other end of the line, my eyes instantly welled up with tears. Back in the last century, my father worked in the mines year-round, and because of that, he developed a serious occupational disease. Now, that booming voice is all the proof I need that Hez still in great health. We've arrived in Magic City. Dad, what are you up to? Hold on, I just got to the office. I have a meeting to attend. Hey, there's something I need to tell you. Aunt interrupted me. After you left yesterday, your mother and I have talked it over. To keep you from becoming some kind of womanizing bully, from now on, aside from your tuition, which we'll pay as usual, and your living expenses, I'll give you the bare minimum. The words were barely out of his mouth. The line just went dead, replaced by the dial tone. And just like that, the warm, fuzzy feeling I had was completely gone. Just as I was about to start roasting my own dad, just then a message from my mom popped up on WeChat. Son, I've transferred the money to you. And remember, don't tell your dad. And make sure you delete all the chat history. If it's not enough, just give me a call. I just saw the message. Right after that, a text message notification chimed. 1 million yuan has been deposited into your bank account. Balance, 1 million yuan. How much is this? I pointed at the screen. I counted them one by one, over and over again. Tens, hundreds, thousands. Whatever. I was also wondering, where did my mom get all this money? But before I could even recover from the shock, and then another text message came through. 10,000 yuan has been deposited into your bank account. Balance, 10100 throughout. And right after that, a message popped up on WeChat. Ye Qiangguo from the Ye group. Tuition is 6,000 per semester. The remaining 4,000 is for your living expenses this semester. Spend it wisely. That should be enough. The corner of my mouth twitched. I gotta say, just what you'd expect from a real father. And he only gives me 1,000 bucks a month for living expenses. I mean, this is the Magic City we're talking about. Wait a minute, the Ye group. Ye Qiangguo! And what the heck is this Ye group? Since when did minors have to put on a fancy show like this? So, I quickly started looking things up on my phone. Half an hour later, I was so excited, I let out a goofy laugh. You guys, can you even believe this? I've transmigrated into a top-tier rich kid. And as long as this world doesn't have some kind of crooked mouth dragon king trope, the kind of guy who can do whatever he wants. Meanwhile, inside a spacious Maybach was Gu Qinghan, dressed in a classic beige doll-like suit, was sitting in the executive seat, listening to her secretary's report with a grim expression. When the bank loan for President Gu wasn't approved, the application was personally rejected by Chairman Liu of Modu Bank. Gu Qinghan raised her hand to massage her temples, her red lips pressed together. The micro-business loan. Let's put this aside for now. The company's entire business chain has been under a full-scale attack for the past few months. Also in my absence, you can report directly to Mr. Gu. The secretary failed to pick up on the hidden meaning in Gu Qinghan's words. He obediently let out an "oh" and sat back down. Meanwhile, Gu Qinghan was just staring blankly out the window. Her gaze was a little distant and unfocused. Her mind couldn't help but drift back to what happened last night. A faint blush slowly crept across her cheeks. That brute. He has no idea how to be gentle. It still hurts like hell, all because of you. Just then, the ringing of a phone interrupted Gu Qinghan's thoughts. He answered the phone, sounding a bit impatient. They're asking for me. It's Gu Qinghan. In a meeting. Hold on. Call me back later. However, before she could, as soon as Gu Qinghan was done with her call, the person on the other end quickly spoke up.
President Gu, don't hang up.
This is important. The director of the oncology department. Could you come to the hospital right now? Gu Qinghan's heart sank. Her heart leaped into her throat. Before we met up yesterday, first he went to the hospital to get a checkup on his condition, but now the hospital is calling in such a panic. News must be terrible. Maybe the cancer cells have already metastasized to some vital organ. At this thought, Gu Qinghan looked as if she had lost her very soul. Muttering to herself, she told the driver to head to the Gus hospital. Her phone was still buzzing incessantly. Gu Qinghan stared blankly at the friend request I had sent, thinking about how he didn't even have anyone to talk to. Her eyes, 2 streams of tears rolled down her cheeks without her even realizing it, and silently accepted my friend request. Typed. So sorry. I played with your feelings. The truth is, I have a terminal illness.
Dying.
Everything we've been through. Just think of it as a dream. A beautiful encounter, full of surprises. Forget me. After she finished editing and sent the message, Gu Qinghan blocked me, deleted as a friend, pulled out the SIM card. Then she rolled down the car window and threw the phone out. This WeChat account was something he created specifically for online dating anyway. The whole routine. From now on, there will be nothing left between us. Meanwhile, I was just lying in bed, looking at legs 1.7 m long. Finally, my friend request was accepted. My heart leaped with joy, just as I was about to say something. And just then, she sent over this long, heartfelt message, the sorrow between the lines. It made my heart ache a little too. I quickly typed out a message to comfort her, so I wrote a long message back to her. After I hit send, all I got back was a single red exclamation mark. I just stared blankly at my phone. I bent over and got out of bed. I gathered up everything in the room that belonged to Gu Qinghan. If we ever get the chance to meet again in the future, I should probably return these things to you. President Gu, I'm so sorry. Meanwhile, Gu Qinghan had just arrived at the hospital entrance. The hospital's president and vice president, along with the director of the oncology department, every single one of them wore a look of deep sorrow on their faces. Seeing the expressions on their faces, Gu Qinghan's heart sank even further, in a state of panic. In her nude high heels, she missed her step and landed flat on her bottom. This sudden turn of events sent a shockwave through everyone. Her secretary also hurried over to help Gu Qinghan up. President Gu, what's wrong? Gu Qinghan remained silent. After getting to her feet, she limped towards the hospital. She had just returned to her private ward, but before Gu Qinghan could even say a word, then Director Zheng and the vice director said in a trembling voice, President Gu, we are so sorry. A bitter smile played on Gu Qinghan's lips and said, should I start making funeral arrangements? Hearing this, the vice dean, his face etched with anxiety, rushed forward and grabbed her. He then pulled out the test results he had hidden beforehand and placed them in front of Gu Qinghan. President Gu, here's what happened. As she listened, Gu Qinghan's eyes scanned the new report. When her eyes landed on the diagnostic opinion, Gu Qinghan's eyes widened in utter shock. The overall diagnosis is sleep deprivation and irregular eating habits. It is advised that the patient maintain a regular daily routine. Every word felt like a knife to the ribs. It shattered Gu Qinghan to her core. He couldn't believe it. Medical malpractice this severe, and it had actually happened to her. And at her own family's hospital, no less. I'm not sick. I don't have to die. In disbelief, Gu Qinghan asked again, carefully this time. After getting a confirmed answer, Gu Qinghan waved her hand, gesturing for them to leave. Lying on the hospital bed, thinking back on the constant anxiety of the past few months, Gu Qinghan was overwhelmed by a whirlwind of emotions. The company, home, Qing, and so on. Gu Qinghan was suddenly jolted. She pulled out her business phone. She tried to log into that WeChat account, but the problem was, that phone number wasn't registered under a real name, and She had thrown the phone away too. So no matter how many times he tried, he still couldn't manage to log in. Gu Qinghan let out a dejected sigh. Forget it. It was an online fling that was never meant to be serious in the first place. But the thought that her first love had just ended without a trace. But a powerful, tearing sensation still welled up inside Gu Qinghan. A couple of silent tears couldn't help but slowly stream down from the corners of her eyes. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. 4 years later, a heavy snow fell over the Magic City. I had just finished my morning classes. Just then, a call came through from my dad. The moment I picked up, a commanding voice boomed through the phone. I'll ask you one last time, the young lady of the Su family. So, are you going to see her or not? Just as I thought, the call came through. So, about that. As the only son of Ye Qiangguo, the chairman of the Ye Group, my marriage has long been a decision I can't make for myself. My dad had already picked out my future wife for me, Su Yingzhu of the Su Group. The old man from the Su Group and my dad are thick as thieves. Plus, the Su Group is just a notch below the Yeshi conglomerate, which is an absolute behemoth. As for Su Jinzhu, over the past few years after I fully integrated the memories of my past life, my impression of her is still stuck in the past, from when we were kids. Back then, she would follow me around all day long, and if she didn't get her way, she'd wipe her snotty nose on my sleeve. Just thinking about it, I couldn't help but shudder. So, I told my dad no, flat out, but I had underestimated my dad's resolve this time. Alright, from this moment on, I'm cutting off your funding, and don't think for a second that I didn't know your mother has been transferring money to you all these years. This time, no one can help you. With that, my dad hung up. And right after that, I got a text message saying all my money had been wiped out. I trudged back to my dorm room, completely dejected, only to find my roommate Xiao Hai had smoked my last cigarette. I was absolutely heartbroken. Seeing me like this, Xiao Hai was suddenly confused. Bro, since when did you get so stingy? Don't tell me your family went broke or something. I'm not trying to hide anything either, he said, smiling at Xiao Hai. That's right. The lockdown is over now. I'll be counting on you from now on, and I hope you'll be patient with me. The words were barely out of my mouth. Everyone in the dorm was stunned, though I never told them about my family background. But He's usually a very generous spender, and now I've actually gone bankrupt for real. Just then, Xiao Hai put on a sad expression. Don't worry, bro. You gotta learn to look forward. As he spoke, he reluctantly handed me a book. Here, I've got the Magic City Sugar Mommy Handbook. I'm entrusting it to you now. I was about to refuse, but then I remembered the snot attack the original owner of this body had to endure. In the end, I still took the book. Seeing this, Xiao Hai chuckled and said with a knowing tone, Hey bro, when you make it big, and don't forget, when you're rich and powerful, you look out for each other, alright? I nodded. I opened the booklet. The first page was a table of contents that Xiao Hai had put together himself. I looked over the information on all these sponsors. The corner of my mouth twitched. Kid, I think you'd better save these tanks for yourself, seeing that I wasn't satisfied. So I immediately flipped to the back of the booklet. Bro, I guarantee you'll like this one. I glanced at what was written on it. Name, Gu Qinghan. Occupation, president of the Gu Group, with several publicly listed companies under its umbrella. Estimated height, 168 centimeters, and weighs around 100 pounds. Age, 25. Her net worth is a matter of public record, with a personal net worth of around 1 billion yuan. Traits, unmarried with 2 kids. And as my eyes fell upon the photo of Gu Qinghan, my pupils instantly dilated. Wait. Those cherry lips and that jawline. Why do they look so familiar? After racking my brain for a moment, I quickly threw on a high-end tailored suit. Before heading out, I made sure to glance back at my buddy Xiao Hai, who was still completely baffled.
Don't worry.
After we both make it big, don't forget about each other. Feeling the scorching summer wind of the Magic City. Man, I really regret not buying a car back then. But to deal with the financial pressure I was under, I had to bite the bullet and scan a shared bike, and headed for the Gu Corporation. Meanwhile, atop the Gu Group's headquarters, Gu Qinghan's delicate brows furrowed as she shot to her feet. Her gaze fell upon the 2 little ones sitting across from her desk. Gu Yu, did you bully the other kids at kindergarten again today? And you,
Yu Yun-gui.
I heard from your teacher that
You haven't been eating or sleeping properly again, have you?
Aren't you afraid you're going to starve yourself to death? Gu Yun-gui pouted his lips. Feeling wronged, she burst into tears. The sound of crying echoed throughout the entire CEO's office. The sound made Gu Qinghan's temples throb. Meanwhile, Gu Yue was looking at her wailing sister. An impatient look appeared on her little face and yanked her sister's pigtails. Stop crying. Can't, you see. Is mommy mad at us again? If you keep crying like this, we're going to get a spanking. Ju Yu was, how dare you bully my sister? With a furious roar, Gu Qinghan stormed over to Gu Yue's eye in a few quick steps. He swept her up in his arms and sat her down on her lap. She then gave her son a hard smack on the butt. He kept hitting him, yelling furiously all the while. Look at you. Is that any way for a big brother to act? All you know is how to bully your little sister.
Smack, smack, smack.
But after several more slaps, Gu Yueyu didn't even flinch. Gu Qinghan was filled with suspicion. So, she immediately pulled down the little pants.
Oh my god.
To her surprise, Gu Yueyu was wearing several layers of diapers. Looks like Hez got a good 7 or 8 of them on. A sudden, inexplicable rage flared up inside Gu Qinghan. What followed could only be described as a touching scene of motherly love and filial piety. One was really hitting, and the other was really crying. And seeing his brother getting a beating, Gu Yongui stopped crying too. He just watched with a big grin as his mom unleashed her motherly love. After Gu Qinghan finished her round of slaps, the fire in her heart subsided a little. She looked up and shot her daughter a glare.
Yongui
Immediately raised her chubby fair little hand. While covering her mouth, his 2 big watery eyes instantly sparkled with an innocent glow. Luckily at that moment, there was a gentle knock on the door to the CEO's office. Gu Qinghan turned her head towards the door. The next second, the door was gently pushed open a crack. The secretary's head peeked through the crack in the door. Your meeting with Mr. Wang from the Yeshi Real Estate Company is about to start. Hearing this, Gu Qinghan stood up and shot him a fierce glare. You too. Stay in my office and practice your reading. And don't even think about running off to play. You understand? We understand. Did I starve you? Didn't you have your meal? Hearing this, the 2 children perked up and chimed in crisply.
We got it, Mommy.
Only then did Gu Qinghan give a satisfied nod. Just as she stepped out of the room, the smile on her face instantly turned serious again. Has President Wang shown any signs of giving in? The secretary shook her head. His expression was just as grim. 4 years ago, the Gu Group secured a piece of land in Magic City, but they had been struggling to find the funding to develop it. The original plan was to partner with the powerful and well-established Yi Group for the development. But who would have thought they were actually letting a wolf in the door? And now the Ye Group actually wants to buy the land back from him at the original price. price. After several rounds of negotiations, showing no signs of letting go. Meanwhile, inside the conference room, Wang Jiansen was toying with a steel nail in his hand. Her elven eyes seemed to hold 1,000 unspoken thoughts. Ever since he snatched that piece of land from us 3 years ago by outbidding us. So, Chairman Yi set up this whole elaborate scheme. First, the bank cut off her loans, and then sever every single connection Gu Qinghan could possibly find. Then, all that's left is to wait for Gu Qinghan to come knocking, begging to cooperate. And now, this piece of land worth over $1 billion. For the Gu Group, it's nothing but a hot potato. Just as Wang Jiansen was lost in thought, the crisp sound of high heels clicked from outside the door. Just then, the door was pushed open by the secretary. Gu Qinghan stepped forward. She said with a gentle smile,
"My apologies. Sorry to keep you waiting, mister."
"Wang, I was just disciplining my child. I ended up wasting a little more time than I meant to. I hope you don't mind, Mr. Wang." Hearing this, Wang Jiansen just smiled and shook his head, indicating he didn't mind. But a glint of golden light Xiaoran flashed in his eyes. This little girl is really something else, using the children as an excuse. Meanwhile, panting and out of breath, I finally made it to the Gu Group building. Just as I was about to head inside, the security guard at the entrance dutifully stepped out to stop me.
Halt. What's your business here?
With a grin, I pulled out a pack of cigarettes. I pulled one out and handed it to him.
Here, have a smoke, man.
"Hey, man. I'm just here, just to be safe, when your boss wife Abu comes looking for a job." I almost said what I was really thinking. The security guard glanced at the pack of Ruanyan cigarettes in my hand. He scoffed with a disdainful smile. He then pulls out a pack of Luchu, a cigarette brand that costs just a few bucks. I mean, come on, who still smokes that stuff? Here, try mine. They say the best way to bond with a man is to share a smoke. I'll finish this cigarette, chat for a bit. I've practically become sworn brothers with this security guard, Brother Wei. Once I make it as a top executive at the Gu Group, I'll definitely promote you to head of security.
Ha ha ha.
The security guard, a man named Wei Wu, let out a hearty laugh. He then patted me on the shoulder and said, "The office for the interview is on the 3rd floor. You should head in now." I gave a solemn nod. I turned and headed into the building. Before long, I found myself at the interview room. After a fierce competition, and just like that, I landed the security guard job. After all, standing guard at the company entrance every day. And it's the spot where I have the best chance of running into Gu Qinghan. After getting through some of the basic procedures, I made my way back to the guard booth. I pulled out a pack of cigarettes from my pocket and offered one to Brother Wei Wu. Well, look who it is again. Wei Wu looked at the security guard uniform I had just picked up. He was so excited. He burst out laughing. "So I really did join the security team. Don't worry, I'm the captain of the squad. I'll set you up with a good shift from now on. I'm filled with respect. No wonder you can afford those expensive cigarettes. Deng Li Kun. Oh, so it's the head of security who's smoking. From now on, I'll be counting on you for everything, boss." Not a problem at all. Wei Wu's face lit up like a blooming chrysanthemum. "You should head back and pack your things now. You can stay in my room tonight. The dorms stink, so." "Alrighty." Overjoyed, I nodded, stepping out of the guard booth. As I was heading to school, meanwhile, the atmosphere in the meeting room upstairs was incredibly tense.
"President Gu, about that package of yours."
Since it's just sitting there gathering dust. And it just so happens that your company is short on cash right now. Why not just sell it to us, the Ye Group? Well, acquire it at the original price from 4 years ago. Hearing Wang Jiansen's words, Gu Qinghan's expression darkened with indignation. Is he even speaking human? 4 years have passed. He knew all along that the bank was going to cut off the loan. And it's connected to Mr. Ye, the CEO of the Ye Group. The thought of it, Gu Qinghan was absolutely furious. There isn't a single decent person in the entire Ye Group. It's infuriating. The negotiations for the return date still have to go on. Mr. Wang, why don't you tell us yourself about this idea of an acquisition at the original price? Is that any way to talk? Besides, I heard that. Well, speaking of which, suddenly a cryptic smile appeared on Gu Qinghan's face. And the Ye Group's latest commercial complex is also near my place, isn't it? Hearing this, Wang Jiansen's heart sank. The Ye Group's latest commercial complex. It's still in the top secret planning phase. There is a mole inside the Ye Group. It took her no time at all to figure it out. She let out a soft laugh and gave a little clap. Quite a move, President Gu. But what if we were to push the plan back a little further? As the words fell, the office was dead silent, but in stark contrast to the tense confrontation in the meeting room. Meanwhile, the CEO's office on the top floor was filled with endless laughter and cheerful chatter. Gu Yu rolled her eyes at her sister. "Have you no regard for our brother-sister bond? Seeing your brother get a beating, and you still have the nerve to laugh about it." Gu Yungui said with a cheeky grin, "The pain is on your body, but the pain is felt by your sister's heart." Upon hearing his sister's words, his older brother Gu Yue, I just flew into a rage. This sister is a natural-born schemer. I wonder if she gets it from her mom. Or maybe her dad, the one who was supposed to be in heaven. After rolling her eyes at her sister one more time, she then ran over to her mom's desk. With a little hop, she climbed onto the tall office chair and deftly turned on the computer, muttering to himself, "I can't be bothered with you. Alright, game time." 10 minutes later, Gu Yue stared at the lock screen, which showed the password was incorrect. Wait a minute. Since when did mom get so smart? She's not even using a family birthday for the password anymore. Seeing the confused look on Gu Yu's face, Gu Egi let out a soft chuckle. He climbed onto the executive chair with equal ease and wiggled her little butt to get comfortable and said, "Let me try." There is a small notebook in mom's safe, and on it there was a series of numbers. Youngui raised a single finger, tapping gently on the keyboard. September 13th, 2000. Ding. Unlocked successfully. Haha, it actually worked. Gu Yu was ecstatic, but a look of confusion was written all over Gu Youngui's little face. For mom to use it as her password, it must be really important. Besides, the numbers obviously look like a birthday. After thinking for a moment, Youngui looked at his brother. Do you think that could be... Is it the birthday of our dad? The one we've never even met? You know, I never would have guessed, looking at mom normally, and Shez even into younger guys. And get this. Mom is even 4 years older than dad. But unlike her sister's nosiness, Yueyu, on the other hand, just waved her hand dismissively and found the game they'd hidden in one of the dozens of folders. Forget about all that. Anyway, the four of us are going to team up and play some games. Meanwhile, I was humming a little tune, pedaling a shared bike, rushing back to school. I realized Idji just skipped 40 years of struggling. Plus, the salary is $6,000 a month after tax. Plus, full benefits. I was so over the moon, I forgot all about the real reason I came to the Gu group. From this moment on, I've made up my mind. From now on, if anyone dares to mess with the Gu group, I'll fight them to the death. Back in my dorm, without a second thought, I went to the bedside, packing my bags. Gotta take my thermos and some goji berries for my nightly tea.
Loving it.
Gotta bring the laptop. And when I'm bored at night, I can even fire up a couple of rounds of a 011. Forget it. And now I'm bankrupt. I guess I'll never meet a flight attendant who can fly all over the country again. Just as I finished packing my bags a moment ago, Xiao Hei's furious voice came through.
Damn it!
I'm gonna punch this pretentious big bro of mine to death. Help me set up a little father-son match with this orphan. Hearing that, I was suddenly itching for a challenge. I immediately jumped at the chance. I mean, come on. I'm the #1 Yasuo from Shanghai University, playing in a bronze tier match with Xiao Hai. I could carry this with my feet, and with my back-to-back solo kills. I basically became a Zaunian pianist. This elementary schooler on the left flank is just feeding, non-stop.
Wow, a real-life elementary school kid.
What a rare sight. I can't believe there are actual kids playing this game. But what I didn't expect was, after the game ended, Yuzai de Suo Yi Wang Wu Qian sent me a friend request. I accepted the friend request from Yue Zai de Suo Yi Wang Wu Qian with great interest.
Wow. You're amazing.
Could you carry me one more time? My fingers are all thumbs typing on this thing. Call me daddy. I'll carry you to Challenger. Wherever Yue Zai is, I'll charge forward without hesitation. Hey bro, how about you carry me to diamond rank? I thought about it for a second. The boring days of my future career as a security guard. I figured it'd be a fun way to kill some time. So I agreed. Alright, come on down. Alright, add me first then. So I sent her my WeChat ID. And while I was at it, I changed my name too. I changed my old school flashlight name to Security Master. Yeah, that fits my new persona. A moment later, a friend request popped up from an anime-style cartoon avatar. I could instantly tell from their reaction that they were thrilled. Plus, has a total hunk. So, are we starting the next round now? I typed back with a sly smile. I replied, no way. Or, we could just wait till tonight. I'll get 3 hot girls to play with us. Let's play some games together. Yueezy is a total hunk. Boo Xingwei, I have homework to do tonight. My mom won't let me play games at night. I can't believe this guy actually doesn't know how. He really is a grade schooler, huh?
Oh, Mr.
Security guard, you really are a kid.
Yuzai is a total hunk.
Not even a shy emoji. I'm still in kindergarten, you know? Whoa, the future of our nation. My bad. My bad. Hey, mister. Security guard.
Alright, just hit me up whenever you're free then.
When I'm off work, I can show you a thing or two. Little one. Hez a total hunk. Alrighty. Thank you, big bro and Xiao Hai. After they chatted for a little while longer. With that, I grabbed my luggage and left. Meanwhile, in the conference room, Gu Qinghan glanced at her watch. Mister.
Wang, it's about time.
I don't think we're gonna get anywhere by continuing this conversation. How about we just leave it at that for today? Gu Qinghan was already on her feet. This gesture, tantamount to a dismissal. Wang Jiansen stood up as well. He said with a hint of regret. President Gu, you really should consider it. After all, we're all in the same circle, but not a single thing. If that's not possible, let's make a compromise. Well, raise the price for this plot of land by 10% for you. Before leaving, Wang Jiansen just had to throw one last jab at him. He immediately turned and gave his secretary an order. Tell Zhao Li to inform the Yes Hotel.
Book a suite for Mr.
Wang at our corporate rate. And remember, I want the best one they have. Wang Jiansen just smiled and shook his head. Such a little girl, and these are the only tricks she knows, just putting on an act. He politely declined Gu Qinghan's offer and walked out of the meeting room with his secretary. Director Wang, it depends.
This President Gu.
Shez, not one to be swayed by either the carrot or the stick, huh? Just as they stepped out of the conference room, the secretary said in a hurry. Wang Jiansen didn't say a word. Instead, he pointed to the closed conference room door. He motioned to the secretary, indicating there were too many prying eyes around. Then, Wang Jiansen gave the secretary another shove. He made him quickly run down the hallway for a few steps. He kept running until he was at the very end of the hallway, and then tiptoed back. Little did they know, Gyu Qinghan had already pulled up the security feed. She saw President Wang Zheng and his secretary crouching right by the door. Gyu Qinghan, who was listening intently. Han let out a soft chuckle. Then, she yelled at the secretary. What a shame. If only they could double the price of this land. They might have just nodded and agreed to sell. The secretary watched the screen, instantly understanding the unspoken message. He played along, raising his voice as well. And as she was saying that, Gyu Qinghan gently waved her hand. She gestured to her secretary, who secretly cracked the door open. The secretary gave an okay sign and tiptoed to the conference room door. Then, with a sudden force, she yanked the door wide open. Thump. Caught completely off guard, Wang Jiansen and his secretary, and landed flat on their faces on the conference room floor. He looked up to see Gyu Qinghan standing there, arms crossed, looking down on the two of them from above. Wang Jiansen scratched his head awkwardly. President Gu.
Oh, right. The mineral water.
I haven't finished it yet. I'll get it. Meanwhile, in the CEO's office, Youngui sat in front of his computer screen, watching a cartoon, while keeping a close eye on the security monitors. The moment Gyu Qinghan's figure appeared at the far end of the hallway, without a word, Gu Yunqi closed the cartoon. Then, he quickly sat back down on the sofa and started reading his book, looking all innocent. Meanwhile, Gu Yezi, seated at the head of the table, remained completely oblivious, excitedly shouting and cheering with her headphones on.
Ouchie.
It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. With a click, the door to the CEO's office was pushed open.
Gu Yu, what are you doing?
Seeing the two flames of fury burning in his mother's eyes, Yongui pretended not to notice and kept reading his book. But in reality, he was keeping her in his peripheral vision the whole time. In a few quick steps, Gyu Qinghan was right behind Gu Yue, crossed her arms, looking at her son. Gu Yu had just finished a team battle at that moment. Suddenly, she felt a chill run down her spine. She took off her headset. Hey sis, turn the AC down a bit. I'm freezing to death. But the moment he saw his scheming sister, and was now secretly pointing a finger behind her back, Gu Yue immediately had a bad feeling about this. She slowly, sluggishly turned her head, trying her best to put on a cute, smiling face, thinking she could get away with it. Mom, could you be a little gentler? 2.5 minutes later, smack. With one arm, Gu Qinghan scooped up her daughter, while her other hand was grabbing Gu Yue by the collar, practically dragging him downstairs. The employees who hadn't left for the day were terrified. They all scurried away like scaredy cats. After a woman has a baby, and her temper has gotten way worse. You see, 4 years ago? And sometimes President Gu would even flash us a smile. Meanwhile, after I got myself settled in, since my first official day hadn't started yet, so I headed over to the main entrance of the Gu Group building to chat with Brother Wei. Meanwhile, deep in the underground parking garage of the Gu Group building, inside a car with heavily tinted windows, Wang Jiansen mumbled to himself with a chuckle. I hear that President Gu has a lovely pair of twins. If it weren't for President Ye reminding me, I almost forgot what I do for a living. With that, Wang Jiansen turned to his secretary and gave an order. Remember to get a clear shot. You've messed up, mister. Yes, big plan, or ill dock your pay. A moment later, Gu Qinghan walked out of the Gus building, holding the hands of the two little ones. The secretary, quick as a flash, tapped Wang Jiansen. President Wang is coming out. Here she comes. Wang Jiansen flicked his secretary on the head. Take the picture.
Why are you taking pictures of me?
The secretary winced in pain and quickly raised his phone. The camera kept clicking away. It wasn't until Gu Qinghan and the two children got into the Maybach. Only then did Wang Jiansen snatch the camera from his secretary's hand. He started flipping through them one by one. The more Wang Jiansen looked, the darker his expression became. Finally, on one of the last few photos, he saw the two children. The profile was a bit blurry. He reached out and gave his secretary a sharp rap on the head. He then rubbed two of his fingers together. He zoomed in on the photo, examining it closely. A few minutes later, Wang Jiansen stroked his chin as he handed the phone back to his secretary. Take a look at this for me. You know, I can't shake the feeling that these two kids look like someone. The secretary took the camera and took a few more glances. She felt the same sense of familiarity, but for the life of me, I can't remember where I've seen him before. I was in the middle of a chat, and just then I saw Brother Wei practically jump out of his skin. His hands were pressed stiffly against the seams of his pants. I just couldn't help myself and just burst out laughing. Brother Wei, what's wrong with you? Wei shot a stern, expressionless glare. I quickly snapped my head back around. He raised his hand and gracefully stepped into a Maybach. Gyu Yu is already fine now. The scar has forgotten the pain. He sat in the front seat, fiddling with this, touching that. A moment later, he rolled down the car window and greeted Old Wei. Uncle Wei, thank you for your hard work. Then her gaze fell upon me, squatting behind Old Wei. His eyes lit up. He then asked Old Wei, why is there a big brother here? Uncle Wei, I heard a voice say at the same time. I couldn't help but look up. The next thing I knew, I was frozen in my tracks. So handsome. And at such a young age. You've grown up? That's insane. Hey there, little one. Hello there. The new security guard for the Gu Group, just started today. Who are you? Inside the car sat Gu Qinghan, hearing the voice from outside the car. Her ears twitched slightly. Why does that voice sound so familiar? She raised her head and glanced softly out the car window. He froze the moment he saw my face. And why does his face look so familiar, too? I can't shake the feeling that I've seen him somewhere before. Don't tell me he's here to kidnap my children. Unable to recall where she'd seen him, a sudden thought popped into Gu Qinghan's mind. After all, during this past year while the kids were in kindergarten, her secret bodyguards had warned her many times that someone was always secretly watching the children during school hours. Looks like I'll have to hire someone to investigate this properly tomorrow. With that thought in mind, Gu Qinghan looked out through the car window. After she slammed the window shut on my face, she glared at the front seat and barked. Abuse.
Roll up the window. Mommy, I'm hot.
Gu Yue mumbled a few words. I said, roll up the window. Gu Qinghan's voice took on a sharper edge. Seeing Gu Yue obediently roll up the window, and slowly let out a sigh of relief. After watching the Maybach slowly drive away, I pulled a cigarette from my pocket and offered it to Brother Wei. That car? Old Wei gave me a long, hard look.
Hey, Zhao Ye.
You better get this straight. That's the private car of our President Gu from the Gu Group. Once you're on duty, when you see this car, you need to pull in early. I nodded, acknowledging that I understood, but my mind was still on that little boy. Brother Wei. Old Wei gave me a suspicious look. That kid.
That kid?
He's our President Gus' child. Listen, kid. You better not get any ideas about our CEO. There have been others who tried to get close to President Gu under the guise of looking for a job. And guess what happened in the end? I looked at Lao Wei and asked, genuinely curious. Old Wei leaned in, all sneaky-like. Let me tell you, but don't you tell anyone. That guy is now living in a riverside villa. I handled it myself. I sized him up and down.
Wow, I never would have guessed Old Wei.
Wow. I can't believe that old fox has done something like this before.
Old Wei was quite pleased with the look on my face. So, whatever you do, don't mess with the little ones. To catch President Gus' attention. You hear me? I nodded. I took Old Wei's warning to heart. The scene cuts to. Gu Qinghan had already brought the two children back home. As soon as she stepped inside, she saw her best friend, He Changxi, sitting on a single-seater sofa, sipping her coffee with a look of pure contentment on her face. Next to her sat a row of middle-aged women, all looking a bit awkward.
Gu Qinghan.
And had Liang Zhaozhi return to his room. Then her gaze shifted to He Changxi. He then came over to Gu Qinghan's side with a grin. Look at these. These are the live-in maids I've handpicked just for you. Every single one of them is a hard worker. I guarantee they'll make sure you're taken care of perfectly and comfortably. Gu Qinghan nodded. Her gaze then fell upon the 5 women sitting on the sofa. After a moment of thought, he pulled out 2,000 yuan from his bag and handed each of them 400 yuan. Hello, ladies. Here is 400 yuan. This is for you to go out and buy groceries. When they returned, they brought back the groceries. My kids are the ones who eat the most. Few nannies could stay. They nodded hurriedly. She took the money. She then turned and left. One of them, the youngest of the group, a woman who looked to be in her 30s, came downstairs, looking around cautiously. After seeing the others leave, only then did she secretly make a phone call. President Ye has successfully gotten close to the target. Meanwhile, at Gu Qinghan's home, Gu Qinghan was on the sofa, resting with her eyes closed. He Changxi sat down beside her. He let out a soft chuckle and asked, still haven't found the kid's father. Gu Qinghan's brow, which had just relaxed, instantly furrowed. She sat up, she said irritably.
Why do you have to bring that up? Why do you have to bring that up?
It took me forever to get over him. Well, you should probably start thinking about your own future too. You've been holding it in for so long. Do you really plan on growing old alone? Gu Qinghan remained silent. She closed her eyes, feigning sleep. Memories from 4 years ago involuntarily surfaced once again. I wonder how that guy I kissed is doing now. I remember he said he was in Magic City for college. Has probably graduated from college by now. All these years, it's not like he didn't try to find her, but every attempt ended in failure. Just then, He Changxi said in a calm, unsurprised tone, "My big brother is coming back to the country soon. Do you want to meet him?" Hearing this, Gu Qinghan's eyes flew open in pleasant surprise. And my big brother is coming back soon. He Jiaji is He Changxi's older brother. The 3 of them were the best of friends back in their childhood. But the most crucial thing is, He Jiaji has already taken over the land owned by the He Group. Perhaps we can leverage the connections of the He Group and secure a loan from the bank. Just as Gu Qinghan was lost in thought, I was standing in a deli. Hey boss, can I get a piece of that pig's head meat? Alrighty. The deli owner springs into action. With practiced skill, he made a light cut on the pig's head meat.
Thwack. Thwack. Thwack.
And chopped the pig's head meat into small pieces. But as he took the 50 yuan in cash from my hand, the shopkeeper scratched his head. Hey buddy, hey, this isn't enough. Embarrassed, I dug through my empty pockets. I pulled out the last few coins I had and handed them to the owner. But to my surprise, the owner's expression started to get serious. Listen here, kid. I'm warning you. I'm broke. I'm calling the cops. Just when I was at my wit's end, a slightly husky female voice rang out from behind me. Young master. I turned towards the sound. There is something about this woman. She looks kind of familiar, but I just can't quite place where from. I saw the nanny who was applying for a job at Gu Qinghan's place. What a pleasant surprise. Young master, I'm the nanny for your family in Yancheng. Call her Auntie Wang.
You don't remember?
Hearing her say that, something finally clicked in my memory. I quickly waved at her. Ma'am? come on over and help me pay for this. With that, I snatched the 50 yuan from the deli owner's hand and said, and went to ask him for the money, and bolted out of there. He stood outside the deli. Then, with a beaming smile, she waved at Wang Yi. After Wang Yi finished paying, he was long gone from behind me.
My people.
On my way back to the security department at the Gu Corporation building, there is something that's been bugging me. Why would the nanny from Yuancheng suddenly show up in Modu? Don't tell me there's something going on between Auntie Wang and old Ye. Meanwhile, Yi Group, Magic City headquarters. Ye Qiangguo, who was listening to Wang Jiansen's report, suddenly sneezed. You're saying Gu Qinghan said it herself? That's right. Shell, sell it to me as long as I double the price. Yes, President Ye, Wang Jiansen said respectfully. Twice the price. Still a bit steep. Ye Qiangguo murmured to himself. His expression turned a bit regretful. I was originally planning to play it straight with him.
Well, it looks like I'll have to get my hands dirty after all.
So, how's the investigation into those two kids coming along? Wang Jiansen nodded. Ye Qiangguo took the file. He gave it a quick flip through. This file is incredibly detailed. It even listed what the two kids like to eat. Even their daily wishes have been looked into. Ye Qiangguo casually set the file aside. He looked up. He instructed Wang Jiansen, arrange a meeting. If we still can't reach an agreement at the next meeting, let's do it. Meanwhile, on the other side, Old Wei and I were happily sipping on our wheat juice. After a few drinks, Lao Wei was already back in bed. As for me, I just kept on drinking. Just then, the phone screen lit up. My mom is a tigress.
What's up, bro?
I chuckled to myself. I picked up my phone and snapped a picture of the wheatgrass juice and sent it back. Soon, a message came through. My mom's a total tiger mom. Brother, you. Him typing while I drink, asking why you changed your screen name. My mommy is a tigress? A voice message came through. The Jinan in Ruti Rusu voice was so young and tender, almost like a sobbing plea.
Bro.
You have no idea how scary my mom is. Shes already spanked me twice today. It hurt so bad I almost crapped my pants. His words had me in stitches. I glanced at the time. It was not even 9 o'clock yet, and my mom is a real tiger mom. Gave her a call. Good evening, sir. The king has arrived. I looked at the wheat juice on the table, still half finished, and turned him down. Hez not coming. How about you keep me company for a bit, huh? I'll get you the whole skin collection. A somewhat elated voice came from Zhao Pi. Seriously, a man of your word, you won't lie to me. He was secretly pleased with himself. Besides, all these games are ours. It's just a phone call away. Have you finished your homework? I just copied my sister's. It only took a sec to finish. I don't care if you're the reason my dad died early. Gu Yu was sprawled on the soft bed, kicking her legs playfully. His sister, who was reading a comic book nearby, asked, "How did our dad die?" Yi Yun-gi moved a little further away from his brother, looking disgusted. After a moment of thought, I don't really remember it clearly either. Mom said before that dad was hit and killed by a truck, but then she said he turned into a stone statue, sunk at the bottom of the sea. Gu Yu scoffed again. Speaking of which, bro, you heard me? Didn't you? My dad was killed in a car accident. I heard his body was torn to pieces. Picked up the glass of wheat juice and took a sip. I was speechless, so that's why the kid wouldn't call me daddy when I asked. So they are my biological children. Her father is already dead. Just as he was trying to figure out how to comfort her, but Gu Yueyu just said nonchalantly,
Wow, we've talked for so long.
"So, about that skin you promised me?" I watched as the chat interface went dead. Then he opened his friends list. Found the doggy planner from Honor of Kings that I added earlier. Hey, you there. The King of Glory planner Ye is always busy. So, which female streamer are we gifting skins to today? I took a screenshot of the kid's game profile and sent it to the planner. This account has every hero and every skin. The dev replied with an okay emoji. Only a moment had passed. The little rascal was just on the other end of the phone, muttering to himself, "Bro, my mom's almost back in the room. Bro, you're not a scammer, are you?" Just then, the sly planner sent a sticker of a boss with the caption "Mission accomplished." I said with a smile, talking into the phone, "Go check the account." Then an excited kid's voice came through the phone. "Sis, come quick. Look at me." The big bro said Hez gonna gift me the full skin set. Then a crisp little girl's voice chimed in. Hez just trying to trick a kid. Do you have any idea how much a full set of skins costs? Why would a complete stranger give you something so expensive? Don't you dare insult my big bro. Gu Yu shot a disdainful glance at her sister. He eagerly launched the game. This phone is one mom replaced years ago. It's usually locked away in a cabinet. Only after they've finished their homework were the brother and sister allowed to take it out and play for a little while. Even though the phone was super laggy, they were also the apple of Gu Yu's eye. After a long wait, it finally loaded into the game's login screen, with her heart pounding. Gu Yue clicked on it. Holy shit! Gu Yu was completely stunned, pointing at the girl with all the skins on the phone screen. "Hey, get over here! My big bro actually sent it to me, and it's the one with all the skins." Gyuongui glanced over, his eyes calm and indifferent. Her eyes widened instantly and repeatedly grabbed her brother's arm. With his eyes all teary, he started to act all cute and clingy. "Big brother, can I borrow your little sister to play with for a bit?" Youngwi's voice was already a sweet childlike soprano, and then they even added a little something extra on top of that. Now, it wasn't just Gu Yue who was. Even I couldn't help but get goosebumps all over. And the two little rascals, they'd clearly found their new favorite toys. And just forget about me, the poor sap who gifted you all those skins. And right now, she's on the other end of the line. We're playing this game like it's life or death, listening to the two little rascals roughhousing nearby, while happily sipping on my wheatgrass juice. This went on until 10 o'clock at night. It was only then that the other end of the phone finally went completely quiet. Two soft breaths could be heard. The two little rascals actually fell asleep in the middle of playing. Just then, a sudden rustling sound could be heard, along with a gentle female voice, "Sleep now. Sleep now. My precious baby, time to sleep." The Kyo family's drunken revelry was in full swing, and somehow I drifted off to sleep as well. The next morning, it was old Wei who woke me up in a rush. After a quick wash and change into that security guard uniform, I took my post at the security booth. It was a sight that made old Wei's eyes light up. "Hey, Zhao Ye, my granddaughter. I wonder if you'd be interested." I stood at attention. I can't stop staring and am not impressed. That's going too far.
Wei, I thought we were brothers.
"You want to be my grandpa now?" A few of the girls were still looking pretty dazed, looking drowsy and half asleep. But when they saw me standing in the guard booth, and their eyes instantly lit up, she let out a gulp and swallowed hard.
Hez, so handsome.
If only I could just touch him. This is a girls-only policy for HR management. Speaking of company rules and regulations, we have a system in place. Security guards must maintain a military stance while on duty, and you're not allowed to change your position sway. If you make any unauthorized moves, you'll be docked a day's pay. And as she said that, the girl actually reached out and gave my hand a little pretend touch. "Your stance is all wrong." Seeing that, I really didn't move an inch, and her hands started getting even more frisky. Chest out, butt in. I have no idea how to stand at attention. I gritted my teeth in secret. "You just wait till I get down there. You're gonna get what's coming to you." I don't even know how I survived that morning rush hour. All I knew was that I had a few inexplicable lipstick marks on my face. Suddenly, I caught a glimpse of a dark figure out of the corner of my eye. I froze for a second. He raised his hand and motioned towards the car.
Gu Qinghan.
I drove myself today. I asked for the night off from him last night. I got up bright and early. First, she dropped the two kids off at kindergarten. By the time she got to the office, I was already late for work. From a distance, I spotted a familiar man standing in the guard booth. She slowly pulled the car to a stop at the entrance, rolled down the window, and looked at me. She said coldly,
Wait.
"Come to my office first." As the words left her mouth, she rolled up the window, about to drive off. I was quick enough to stop the window from closing. "Good morning, President Gu. Can't we talk here? If I'm caught away from my post, they'll dock my pay." Gu Qinghan pointed at the rearview mirror. Her tone was a little mischievous. "So, did HR happen to mention? And guards get docked pay for being improperly dressed?" I glanced in the rearview mirror. What the hell? Who did this?
Right on my forehead.
If you didn't know any better, one would think Immer Lang Shen or something. Like I've got a third eye or something. I awkwardly wiped it with my sleeve. He tried to wipe the lipstick mark off his face using the rearview mirror. But just then, Gu Qinghan slammed her foot on the gas. The Maybach screeched, leaving a black mark on the concrete. With a screech, it shot forward. I watched as the Maybach's body faded into the distance. He scoffed. He said disdainfully, "It's just a Maybach. What's the big deal?"
What's the big deal?
No sooner had I said that, "Hey, the one who just groped me." And just then, my junior apprentice sister popped out of nowhere. "Ye Qing, you were off duty during your post. That's a 100 yuan deduction, unless you give me your contact info, and it'll let you off the hook."
Damn it!
I couldn't help but curse under my breath. But beggars can't be choosers. So I had no choice but to obediently add the girl as a friend. Meanwhile, Gu Qinghan arrived at her office. She was sitting in the spacious executive chair, her delicate brows furrowed slightly. Her mind was preoccupied with the safety of her two children. She picked up the phone on her desk and dialed Yuan Shi. "Bring me the list of the newly hired security guards." While waiting for HR to bring over the list, Yu Qinghan was still deep in thought. This piece of land has been the talk of the entire city recently, stirring up quite a storm. Countless people were waiting to see him make a fool of himself. It's gotten him so on edge lately, fearing that something might go wrong. Gu Qinghan took the file. She first gave it a quick glance. Seeing that she showed no intention of leaving, he looked up and asked, "Is there something you need?" The young lady was taken aback by Gu Qinghan's tone, freezing for a moment. He was all flustered. He was about to leave when she ordered, "Stop." Gu Qinghan's brow furrowed. She shot a frosty glare at the young woman she recognized, the red on her lips, upon realizing it was the exact same color as the one she wore that day. And then, Gu Qinghan's annoyance with me grew even stronger. "He just started yesterday, and today you're already fooling around. Disgraceful." A moment later, under the HR lady's timid gaze, Gu Qinghan lowered her head and said, "It's all right. You can go now." After the HR staff left, Gu Qinghan quickly pulled my file from the list. The file was very basic. There was only a headshot and a resume. looking at my carefree smile in the photo. Gi Chinghan was so tempted to just toss the file in her hand into the trash can. But when his gaze fell upon Jinglin, for some inexplicable reason, a pang of bitterness welled up inside her. Yi Ching was just like him, and his given name is just Ching. Gu Chinghan suppressed her impatience and continued reading. Hometown. Yuancheng, Jin Province. Seeing this, for some reason, Gu Chinghan felt a wave of relief wash over her again. She wasn't even sure why she was getting so nervous. Her first love was from the capital. His parents aren't from Jin Province, his father is deceased, and his mother is a homemaker. EOB, September 17th, 1999. Guess it wasn't him. I don't even know what I'm thinking. How could that be? Gu Chinghan couldn't help but chuckle to herself. I must be going crazy thinking about him like this. ID subconsciously mistake anyone who looks like him for him. Now, the only thing is to figure out why he's really here. Lost in these thoughts, Gu Chinghan snatched up the phone and called the security office downstairs. Because I'm Gu Chinghan. Have Yi Ching from your security department come up to my office. Listening to the woman's voice on the phone, I scratched my head in frustration. Director Gu, I am Ye Ching. On my way to Gu Chinghan's office, couldn't help but mutter to myself, why would a mere security guard like me be the one Gu Chinghan can't seem to take her eyes off? Don't tell me she's actually into my looks. But I haven't even made my move yet. Wait. Should I go for it or not? I thought to myself. I knocked on the door to the CEO's office. From inside, I heard a cold, silent wait. I pushed the door open and walked in. And then with the utmost gentlemanliness, closed the door behind me. I took a few steps forward. I walked up to the desk.
You wanted to see me, President Gu?
Gu Chinghan sat with her legs crossed, silent. The only sound in the room was the soft tapping of her nails on the desk. Seeing that Gu Chinghan remained silent, I looked up at him. But I saw that Gu Chinghan was also sizing me up. But a flash of awe couldn't help but cross my eyes. I couldn't help but sigh to myself. So, the reputation of Magic City's top business flower is well-deserved. Her eyes were a striking, clear black and white. Ease as pure as a baby's. Her oval face was as perfectly rounded and smooth as a polished gem. Anyway, based on all the internet celebrities I've seen. But compared to Gu Chinghan, the difference is like night and day. Suddenly, Gu Chinghan reached out and picked up my file and slammed it down right in front of me. I jumped out of my skin. Holy shit, is this woman crazy? I was just taking a second look. What's the big deal? Is that really necessary? Besides, you're looking at me too, aren't you? Just as I was giving her a puzzled look, Gu Chinghan jutted her chin towards the file.
Let's hear it.
With a body that works, you come to the Gu Group to be a security guard. Are you up to no good? I couldn't help but laugh. No way. Do they really investigate this thoroughly just for a security guard position?
I'm broke. Okay, is that a problem?
Hey, a student from Modu University, no less. And from the business management department. So you came to our company to squat as a security guard. Trust me. His mouth twitched. I have to admit, that does sound a little far-fetched. Besides, wasn't I here to marry into her money anyway?
Gu Chinghan.
Seeing that I didn't say anything, she crossed her arms and leaned back in her executive chair. Yes, if ID just confirmed her suspicions. Tell me, your real goal is my child. Or rather, my Chinghan's expression was getting more and more agitated. I quickly raised my hand and said, President Gu, please, don't be angry. She's angry. You'll get cancer. I didn't expect what happened the moment I said that. Gu Chinghan was fuming, like a boiling teapot about to whistle. Her delicate face instantly turned beet red. Her head was lowered, pointing a finger at the door, shaking all over. Get out! Get the hell out of here! And just like that, my plan to marry into a rich family was a total bust before it even began. By the time ID changed back into my own clothes and walked out of the Gu Corporation building, only then did the anger in Gu Chinghan's eyes begin to fade. She was writing something in a small pink notebook. I ran into someone today who looked a lot like you. He even cursed my cancer. I was so furious I just kicked her out.
Where are you now?
Gu Chinghan finished writing slowly. With her eyes closed, she gently pressed the small notebook against her face. She was completely lost in her memories. Just then, her phone suddenly rang. Hearing that long-lost male voice on the phone, Gu Chinghan was overjoyed.
Brother you're back.
Okay. All right, let's meet at the coffee shop then. Gu Chinghan hung up the phone and excitedly headed out. For a moment, she completely forgot that her driver Zhao's son had taken the day off. There was no one to pick up her two kids. So there I was, wandering aimlessly down the street and wondering if I should sell off some of my skins for a good price. Before I knew it, it wandered over to the other side of Magic City's #1 kindergarten. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly spotted two kids at the kindergarten gate. Wait. Aren't those Gu Chinghan's kids? Then I remembered the little boy yesterday, leaning against the Maybach's window. And the way he was waving at me, he felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Instinctively, he stepped forward to say hello. But he had only taken a few steps forward. I saw two men in trench coats standing in front of the two kids. And when I turned back around, the two children had vanished into thin air. Holy shit! They're kidnapping the kids. I yelled out. Then, I chased the two men in trench coats down a small alley. And at the end of the alley, I saw a beat-up van parked there. It all clicked into place. This must be it. So I bent down and picked up a brick. I quickly ran up behind a man in a trench coat who was lagging behind and slammed the brick hard against the back of his head. The man in the trench coat took a heavy blow. His footsteps came to an abrupt halt. His arm also instinctively went slack. Then, all that was heard was a loud thud. A little girl slipped out from inside the trench coat and collapsed to the ground, her face a mask of terror. There was even a piece of cloth stuffed in her little mouth. Seeing this, I immediately picked the little girl up. But even after I pulled the gag from her mouth, the little girl was still stammering, unable to get a word out. Seeing the terrified look on the child's face, I could no longer contain the fury in my heart. The man in the trench coat was still dazed. I swung the brick again and brought it down hard on him again. The man in the trench coat staggered. He looked up at me, disbelief in his eyes. Then, with a thud, and collapsed limply to the ground. Seeing this, the man in the trench coat who was running ahead, he glared furiously and with a swish, whipped a dagger from his waist. He then turned and started walking towards me. My eyes were locked on the dagger, but my mind was racing, trying to think of a way out. Just as the man in the trench coat was about a meter away from me, suddenly I pointed behind him and yelled,
Where?
The man in the trench coat glanced back over his shoulder. I seized that split-second opportunity and landed a heavy kick right in his chest. The kick sent the man in the trench coat staggering back several steps. A little boy also tumbled out from inside the trench coat. He also had a cloth gag stuffed in his mouth. Quick as a flash, I caught the little boy. I gently laid him down next to the little girl. Turned back, keeping a wary eye on the man in the trench coat. He was clutching his chest. His eyes were fixed on me, filled with a sinister glare. All right, kid, you asked for this. With that, he took a few quick steps and lunged forward. The dagger in his hand sliced through the air, lunging straight for me. All I could feel was the adrenaline surging through me. I couldn't even feel the pain when the dagger grazed my arm. I swung the brick in my hand, smashing it right into the face of the man in the trench coat. The next moment, the man in the trench coat staggered back a few steps. Then, he collapsed straight to the ground. He wasn't moving at all. I also just collapsed onto the ground. My head was spinning, and I was also filled with a lingering fear. The little boy then looked at my arm and gasped, Big brother, your arm is hurt. It was only then that I looked down at my arm. I didn't feel a thing until I looked, but one look, a searing pain shot through me. The pain shot through his entire body from the wound in an instant. He saw that his arm had been slashed open, leaving a long, deep gash, and right now, blood is gushing out from the wound. Meanwhile, at the Time Cafe, not far from the kindergarten. With a smile, Gu Qinghan sat down across from a man. It's been a while, big brother. Sitting across from her, Hijiaji let out a soft chuckle. Qinghan, it's been a while. After the greetings, Hijiaji bent down. He then presented the bouquet of roses he had prepared in advance. But just as he was about to speak, but was cut off by the ringtone of Gu Qinghan's phone. The moment Gu Qinghan saw who was calling, her pupils instantly constricted. The moment she picked up, a frantic voice blared from the other end. President Gu, it's terrible news. The two children are missing now. According to the kindergarten security footage we've reviewed, we suspect it's the work of professional kidnappers. Gu Qinghan froze on the spot. Her eyes were glazed over, but her voice quickly cracked with a sob. She ordered, Go find him. What are you calling me for? Hurry up and go. This was the first time anyone had ever seen Gu Qinghan so hysterical. Those two children are her everything. In the past, no matter what kind of rumors or gossip came from the outside world, she had endured it all with strength. Now, he couldn't even imagine a life without those two children, whether she would have the strength to go on living. After Gu Qinghan hung up the phone, Hijiaji, sitting across from her, waved her hand in front of Gu Qinghan's eyes. What's wrong? What happened? It was as if Gu Qinghan was clutching at a lifeline. She looked at him, pleading, Mister. You're a capable man. Please, go save my child, will you? A child. You have a child. Hijiaji looked as if he'd seen a ghost. Stood up, defeated. Gu Qinghan, her face streaked with tears, kept pleading desperately. He, who was once so full of life, Jihui, didn't catch the astonishment in Hijiaji's voice. Right now, she was nothing more than a helpless mother. Seeing that Hijiaji remained motionless for a long time, a flicker of disappointment flashed through Gu Qinghan's beautiful eyes. She got up, completely devastated, and walked towards the door. Hijiaji stared at Gu Qinghan's retreating figure. Furious, he whipped out his phone. Gu Qinghan has a child.
Why didn't you tell me?
However, on the other end of the line, He Changshi sounded completely unfazed. Hey, what's the big deal about her having kids? And isn't Gu Qinghan gorgeous? Besides, if you don't make Gu Qinghan yours, so how are we going to solve the problems our group is facing? A moment later, Hijiaji hung up the phone. He hesitated for a moment, but he still got up and ran after Gu Qinghan. Meanwhile, in the alley, Yunggui took a handkerchief out of her bag, intending to bandage my wound. But the moment she placed the handkerchief on my wound, the pain shot through me, and I practically jumped off the ground. Seeing this, Gu Yunggui hesitated for a moment and pouted her little mouth and gently pressed it against the side of my face. Bear with it.
Brother, I
I don't know what's happening to me. The pain in my arm instantly lessened. After Gu Yungui's wound was bandaged, the man in the trench coat who had been lying on the ground slowly started to recover. He slowly got to his feet. He first took a glance. I shielded the two kids behind me. Just as he was about to make a threat, out of the corner of his eye, he saw his accomplice on the ground, unconscious from the pain, and was shocked. After a moment's hesitation, the man in the trench coat then pulled out his phone and started snapping a bunch of pictures of me. Through gritted teeth, he spat out a threat. Then he quickly dragged his still unconscious partner and made a swift exit. I watched until their car sped off into the distance. Only then did I finally let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, a sudden wave of dizziness washed over me. I forced myself to stay alert. He took one in each hand and headed towards the kindergarten. Meanwhile, Gu Qinghan was at the entrance of the kindergarten. She was talking to the teacher, her face etched with panic. Suddenly, she heard two crisp, clear voices calling out at the same time. Gu Qinghan looked as if she had been struck by a heavy blow. Covering her mouth in disbelief, she looked over. And there, at the entrance of the alley, the very same security guard she had just kicked out of the Gu Corporation. And right now, he was holding one of her children in each hand. The moon returns to the clouds. Gu Qinghan shoved aside the person blocking her way. He Jiaji, who had just arrived. I desperately ran towards the two children. Seeing the mother and her two children locked in a tight embrace, I couldn't take the constant dizziness anymore. Exhausted, I just sat there on the roadside. After making sure both children were unharmed, it was only then that Gu Qinghan finally looked over at me. But the next moment, Gu Qinghan was horrified by my miserable state. When she saw that my arm was still bleeding profusely, Gu Qinghan grabbed my shoulder to steady me and shook me a few times.
Yi Ching, are you okay?
I struggled to crack my eyes open, just a slit. President Gu, do I look okay to you right now? But if you keep shaking me like this, but something really is about to happen. The words were barely out of her mouth. My head lolled to the side and completely passed out. 1 minute later, I was carried by the crowd into the back seat of Gu Qinghan's Maybach. Gu Qinghan glanced back at the children settled in the back seat. You two? Keep a close eye on him. You can tell mommy anything. Okay, with that, she got back into the driver's seat. Just as she was about to leave, he Jiaji, under Gu Qinghan's puzzled gaze, he opened the passenger door and got in. In case anything happens, I can help you. Gu Qinghan was stunned. He then sped off towards the Modu-Story Central Hospital. On the way, Gu Qinghan was visibly distraught. Seeing this, he Jiaji hesitated for a moment. I should probably say something. This young man, he's with Gu Qinghan, and focused all his attention on driving. He answered instinctively, "Has a security guard at our company." He Jiaji nodded upon hearing this. He murmured,
That's a relief.
What do you mean? It's nothing.
Inside the Central Story Hospital, the light above the operating room flickered on. Only then did Gu Qinghan begin to ask what had happened. Half an hour later, Vice Director of the hospital rushed out of the operating room, a look of grave concern on his face. President Gu, the situation isn't looking good. The patient has lost too much blood. She needs a blood transfusion. Then, what are you waiting for? Get the transfusion started, Gu Qinghan said, her voice urgent. And that's where the problem lies. The patient's blood type is a bit unusual. Vice Dean swallowed hard. He said with difficulty, it's Rh-negative O type. The rare panda blood. Gu Qinghan froze on the spot, as if struck by lightning. Her gaze instinctively shifted to her two children. They both have the same rare blood type too. The director also glanced at the two children. His expression turned grim. Right now, our only option is to contact the Modu Central Blood Bank. If they don't have it either, although the director didn't finish his sentence. But Gu Qinghan still understood what he meant. The director let out a heavy sigh and hurried off to make a phone call. Meanwhile, Gu Yue, upon overhearing their conversation, a look of determination flashed in her eyes. She stealthily got to her feet and ran towards the nurse's station. Just then, a familiar ringtone suddenly went off. Instinctively, Gu Qinghan reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. But when she picked it up to check, only to realize it wasn't her phone ringing. Just then, Gu Yunggui pulled a phone from my pocket.
Mommy, I think that's the big brother's phone.
Gu Qinghan took my phone. She answered the call. This is for Yi Qing. So where are you in Magic City? Gu Qinghan heard a woman's voice in her ear. He took a deep breath. She said slowly, Yi Qing is in emergency care right now. What? The girl was clearly terrified. What's going on? How did this happen?
And who are you?
Li Yeking is the one who saved my children's lives. But none of that is important right now. The point is, Hez in desperate need of Rh-negative O-type blood right now. Are you a family member? Do you have any blood relatives we can contact? Which hospital? The woman on the phone asked again. Shanghai Story Central Hospital. Meanwhile, inside a top-tier hotel in Shanghai, Su Yingzhu at this moment was filled with anxiety. He had come to the Magic City this time, all for the sake of seeing his dear brother Ye Qing. She had thought, since brother Ye Qing doesn't want to see him, then he would just make the first move. As the saying goes, a determined woman can win over any man. With a face like that, he couldn't believe I could be so heartless. But who would have he thought? Just as I got settled in the hotel, she got the news that I was in critical condition and being rushed to the ER. Then it occurred to me that Auntie Ye was still in the capital. Plus, Uncle Ye is said to be busy with some major project. Su Yingzhu gritted her teeth. He made a call to Old Master Su. Hello, Dad? Can you find any Rh-negative blood donors in Modu? 3 minutes later, Su Yingju hung up the phone. He immediately rushed to the Magic City Story Central Hospital. Meanwhile, the director of the Magic City Central Blood Bank was answering a phone call with a grim expression. We currently have 2,000 cc in stock for Elder Su.
Will you be needing it?
That's all we need to know.
I don't care what it takes.
Get him to the Gushi Central Hospital as fast as possible. Say that again, and hearing the commanding, powerful voice on the other end of the line, the director's expression turned serious. He hurried back to the office. Get the blood to the Gus Central Hospital as fast as you can. The scene cuts. Su Yingju stood at the entrance of the hospital's operating room and made a phone call. Her captivating eyes, like a black pineapple, were truly enchanting. Su Yingju looked in the direction of the ringing sound. There, she saw a woman of breathtaking beauty, sitting on a metal chair right outside the emergency room. Zhang Changhe was seemingly in prayer. Seeing this, Su Yingju's brow furrowed slightly. He hung up the phone immediately. He walked towards the woman. Gu Qinghan's body went limp. A figure was standing right in front of him. Following the figure, she slowly looked up. A similar wave of dizziness washed over her.
Wow, what a beautiful girl.
You're the phone, Su Yingju said concisely.
How?
In a fluster, Gu Qinghan handed my phone over. Su Yingju took the phone without saying another word. She just stared intently at the door to the emergency room. A moment later, with a grim expression, the vice president of the hospital approached Gu Qinghan. President Gu, the blood bank says they're out of blood. The two women listened to his words. As if struck by lightning, their faces were filled with utter disbelief. And just then, a young nurse walked over, holding Gu Yu's hand. President Gu, the little one here insists on donating blood for his brother. I told him. For instance, you can't have a blood transfusion between close relatives, especially between siblings. But the little one just wouldn't listen. Gu Yu was kicking her legs wildly, trying to break free from the nurse's grasp. Rh negative type O. I can save the big brother's life. No! Gu Qinghan barked sharply. How old are you? Giving blood could kill you.
Why not?
After Su Yingju understood what was happening,
Stood up.
confronting Gu Qinghan head-on. Didn't you say that Brother Ye Qing was the one who saved your children's lives? What's the big deal about him donating a little blood? Gu Qinghan also stood up. He shielded Gu Yue behind him once more. Have you no humanity? Hez only 3 years old. Su Yingju sneered. So selfish. You're going to lecture me about humanity. Wasn't it because Brother Ye Qing saved your children that he ended up like this? Who's the one with no humanity now? Just as Gu Qinghan was about to retort, but Gu Yue stepped forward on her own. Mom, I just asked at the nurse's station about the blood donation. As long as it's less than 300 milliliters, it won't hurt me. My sister and I can each give 150 milliliters. Maybe it can save our big brother's life. As she spoke, Gu Yue glanced over at Gu Youngui.
Right.
Her younger sister, Gu Youngui, also gave a firm nod. Seeing the stubborn look in the two children's eyes, Gu Qinghan's lips trembled slightly. She turned away, unable to bear the sight. She waved her hand dismissively. Don't worry, Mom. It's okay. Gu Yongui gave a faint smile, comforting his mother. Then, the two of them took the nurse's hand and headed towards the nurse's station. A flicker of pity crossed Su Yingju's face, but he still turned and followed them. And knowing he had no way of getting the panda blood himself, Hijiaji, who had been hiding all this time, now that the RH null blood was secured, and that's when he finally came to Gu Qinghan's side. He reached for Gu Qinghan's hand. He reached out to comfort Gu Qinghan. She instinctively swung her hand out, and it landed squarely on Hijiaji's face, without even glancing at her. Leave me alone. However, before Hijiaji could even process the shock and start to get angry, the roar of a helicopter echoed. The director of the blood bank rushed down from the helicopter. He was carrying a specialized medical kit. Quick! RHHO type blood. Who needs it? Gu Qinghan's face was etched with shock. She needed to be sure, but the director just ignored him completely. Meanwhile, at the nurse's station, Su Lingju gently held the two children's hands, thanking them profusely. What if your blood could save Brother Ye Qing?
So what do you want?
And I'll buy you whatever you want. But the two children spoke like little adults, saying,
You don't have to, sis.
It's our duty. The three of them were lost in a quiet moment, moved by the emotion of it all. A moment later, Su Yingju approached the nurse. She asked, a hint of anxiety in her voice. Nurse, are the test results back yet? Can I see them now? The nurse shook her head, pointing at the computer screen. It's not that fast. It'll be a few more minutes. Su Yingju stood by the computer, a look of disappointment on her face. Just then, the nurse answered a phone call and hurried out of the ward, leaving only Su Yingju and the two children behind. Su Yingju sat down in front of the computer. Her fingers were flying as she clicked the refresh button. A moment later, Gu Qinghan walked in, her face beaming with excitement. The blood bank has sent the blood over. Yi Qing is out of danger. You don't need to donate any more blood. Really? Mommy, is the big brother really out of danger? Yongui also rushed forward. His eyes were shining. Gu Qinghan gave a solemn nod. Sangshan was still sitting in front of the computer. Su Yingju was still in a daze. Yi Qing is already gone. Hell be out of the operating room any minute now. I'll be taking the 2 children with me now. Don't worry about the medical bills. I've already arranged everything with the hospital. Su Yingju gave a dazed nod, watching the 3 of them leave. Her finger clicked down again, almost without her realizing. A brand new page refreshed on the computer screen. Su Yingju instinctively glanced at the blood type matching results. Blood donor, Gu Yu. Blood recipient, Ye Qing. Match unsuccessful. Matching recommendation after analyzing the blood samples of all 3 parties. There is a high degree of genetic compatibility. Suspected direct blood relation. Su Yingju raised her hand and rubbed her eyes in disbelief. She looked at the screen again. This time, it was even clearer. Genes are a near-perfect match. Suspected direct blood relation.
Is this system broken, or what?
Or maybe Uncle Ye secretly created a Smurf account or something. No, that can't be right. I have to keep Uncle Ye's secret no matter what, he thought to himself. Su Yingju printed out the report and put it away. Only then did she proceed to completely wipe all records from the hospital's system. She made sure not a single trace was left behind before she left. In the middle of the night inside the most luxurious suite of the central hospital, I slowly stood up. I opened my eyes. I tried to lift my arm, but I couldn't summon even a shred of strength. And my entire lower body, I can't feel a thing. For some reason, a flicker of panic shot through me. No, it can't be. My arm is the one that got hurt. Why can't I feel anything from the waist down? Oh, come on. And I've got 100 billion fortune waiting for me to inherit. Just as I was agonizing over this in my head, suddenly I noticed a figure curled up by my legs, and 2 arms were draped right over my thighs. Listen closely, and the faint sound of snoring. The corner of my mouth twitched. With some effort, I managed to shift my leg. Hey, wake up. You're on my leg. Oh, you're awake, brother Ye Qing. As the figure lifted their head, it was only then that I got a clear look at her pretty, yet somewhat haggard face. My heart skipped a beat, while Hez still half asleep. Still groggy, I quickly lay back down and pretended to faint.
What the hell?
Su Yingju.
What is he doing here?
And Shez here. Doesn't that mean Mom and Dad know I'm lying flat on a hospital bed right now? After a moment, I felt like someone was pinching my nose. Xingjia knew it was Su Yingju playing a prank. Only when he was about to pass out from holding his breath did he slowly open his eyes, she said weakly.
Yingju, what are you doing here?
Su Yingju crossed her arms. Brother Ye Qing, if I hadn't come, you would have been a goner.
You know?
As she spoke, Su Yingju sat down on the edge of the bed, counting them off on her fingers, listing every single thing Head done for her. Do you have any idea what my old man went through for you? He had it flown in by helicopter from 1,000 miles away. Do you have any idea? And do you have any idea how scared I was when you were lying in the emergency room? As Su Yingju spoke, she batted her big eyes, trying hard to hold back tears, and managed to squeeze out a few tears. With what little strength I had, I raised my hand and placed it on Su Yingzu's head and gently stroked her slightly messy hair. I remember this trick always worked like a charm on Su Yingzu. And just as Id thought, there was Su Yingzu. At that moment, she closed her eyes, enjoying it just like a little kitten. Before long, she was curled up at my feet, fast asleep, letting out soft snores. I pulled my hand back. I picked up the phone from the bedside table. I lit up the screen and saw more than a dozen missed calls. There was one from Lao Wei and Su Yingzhu and Zhao Hai. The most recent one was from an unknown number calling half an hour ago. After replying to all of them, after a moment's hesitation, I decided to call back the number I didn't recognize. Meanwhile, inside Gu Qinghan's bedroom, Gu Qinghan put a finger to her lips, signaling for silence. It's a call from your big brother. Hearing this, the 2 little ones immediately stopped their horseplay and looked at Gu Qinghan with eager anticipation. Gu Qinghan answers the call, just as she was about to speak, but found herself at a loss for words. A moment later, then I heard my own voice coming from the other end of the phone, and there was silence. Seeing this, Gu Qinghan quickly said, "Don't. I was just thinking about how I fired him this morning." Gu Qinghan looked a little awkward. Thank you for saving my children. I don't even know how to thank you. Does your wound still hurt? It's not so bad now. The 2 of them made some awkward small talk. A silence fell between them. At this point, Gu Yue, who was standing nearby, couldn't take it anymore. She took the phone. Speaking of big brother, thank you so much for today.
Youngui.
Seeing this, he also got to his feet. The 2 of them rushed to thank him, practically tripping over each other. Hearing what the 2 kids said, I simply smiled faintly. Are you 2 okay? We're fine. Big brother, we're not hurt. Big brother, I was hoping my sister and I could comb your hair with you again today. A warmth blossomed in my heart. Here, you can have your phones back. How is Mom?
You 2 get some sleep.
You have school tomorrow.
All right, brother. And once again, we're trapped in that awkward silence. Forget it. You should get some rest, President Gu. I was silent for a moment. I didn't know what to say. The woman reverted to her usual cold and distant demeanor and hung up on her own. But it was only a moment later. A text message popped up on the screen. Anyway, thank you for today. And
Sorry.
he looked out the window. All right, so many thoughts running through my head. I even called, it's time for bed, you 2. Gu Qinghan urged the 2 children to hurry up and go to sleep. The 2 kids scrambled over each other, both trying to be the one in Gu Qinghan's arms. I want Mommy to pick me up. not you.
Mommy's mine.
Seeing the two kids start to fuss again, Gyu Qinghan sighed and held her forehead in frustration. For some reason, her thoughts drifted back to her first love from the internet. If only the kid's father was still here. Kids would never dare to be this rambunctious. Lost in thought,
Gyu Qinghan.
her brows gradually furrowed. She raised her hand and turned off the light. She thought the two kids would finally settle down for a bit, but what she didn't expect was, just then, Gu Youngui started to cry softly. Mommy, I'm scared. Can you please call that big brother again? Feeling her daughter's arms wrapped tightly around hers, Gyu Qinghan let out a soft sigh, but she picked up her phone anyway. Hey, are you asleep? The kids are scared. Could you stay on the phone with them for a little longer? I'm really sorry to trouble you. Hearing Gu Qinghan's request, with a gentle touch, I tried to evade my destiny. My lord, I slipped on my slippers and stepped out onto the balcony.
Sure.
I happen to have nothing going on anyway.
Hey,
All right, little ones. How about I tell you a story? Would you like to hear it? A sweet, childish voice called out, Brother Yao. This story is called Once Upon a Time, There Was a Mountain. Once upon a time, there was a mountain. And on the mountain, there was a temple. And in the temple, an old monk was telling a story to a young monk. Want to know what they were talking about? Then a sweet, childish voice called out, I miss my big brother. It's the one about the mountain. And in that mountain, there was a temple. A few minutes later, Gyu Qinghan's voice came through. Please, don't hang up the phone just yet.
Let me just get the kids to sleep first.
Then a soft lullaby drifted through the phone. Hush now. Go to sleep.
My dearest baby.
As I listened to the song, my heart skipped a beat. That's not my mom. That's a tigress.
Wait, is that the kid's voice or his mom's?
My mom's a tigress. It's Gu Yuzan. So, the tigress is Gu Qinghan. A few more minutes passed. Two soft snores drifted from the other end of the phone. Are they asleep? I asked in a whisper, listening to Gu Qinghan's gentle lullaby. As soon as I said that, the lullaby on the other end stopped. Reluctantly, I stopped the recording and drifted off to sleep. Thank you. Gu Qinghan's tone turned cold and distant once again. In that case, President Gu, am going to bed as well. Gu Qinghan replied, her words as sparing as ever. I lay back down on the hospital bed. I drifted off to sleep to the sound of a lullaby playing on a loop. Who on earth would be capable of kidnapping children? Gu Qinghan thought to herself, besides the bandits who were just after the money. But there was an even greater possibility. The Yi Group, a business rival of the Gu Group. At this thought, Gu Qinghan's expression turned grim. She hadn't slept all night. Gu Qinghan had two massive dark circles under her eyes. Early in the morning, she dropped the two children off at kindergarten. It wasn't until she got back to her office. She sank into the spacious executive chair. Only then did she feel a sliver of energy gradually seeping back into her weary body. Just then, Gu Qinghan's gaze suddenly sharpened. Her gaze landed on a pair of lotus sunglasses on the desk. These are the ones Yi Qing was wearing yesterday. Did he forget to take it? Curious, Gu Qinghan picked them up to take a look. A moment later, he let out a soft chuckle.
What the?
So it's a fake. Gu Qinghan lowered her sunglasses. She raised her hand and rubbed her temples. A strange, powerful feeling of sexiness stirred within him. She's probably really just here for work, right? A few days went by. The weekend was just around the corner. For the past few days, I don't know what's gotten into this Su Yingzhu. Shez been trying to build this perfect wife image around me. Shez kept me on my toes from morning till night. I was lying in a hospital bed. I watched the busy Su Yingzhu with a look of utter despair. Here, brother Ye Qing, have some water. And this is the 5th time in the last hour. Su Yingzhu picked up the water cup for the 6th time. Brother Ye Qing, would you like an apple? I shook my head. This was already the 3rd apple Su Yingzhu had peeled today. The main problem was Su Yingzhu's Dubai knife skills. The peeled apple was barely bigger than the core. Su Yingzhu blushed.
Then what about my brother?
Do you need to use the restroom? Here, let me shake it for you. I reached out and grabbed the high ponytail Su Yingzhu had tied up for convenience. I mean, don't you have any?
What's with the formalities?
Not at all.
What's wrong? Brother Ye Qing. Su Yingzhu turned her head with a beaming smile, holding a piece of bread in her hand. Come on, brother Ye Qing, open wide. With that, Su Yingzhu then brought the bread closer to me. I can faintly smell something. A bit off. I turned my head away, refusing the bread that was already at my lips. It was spoiled. Su Yingzhu picked up the bread and gave it a sniff. It's not the bread. I just bought this today. I sniffed the air. I just felt this bitter smell getting stronger and stronger. He reached out and tugged at Su Yingzhu's sleeve. I took a careful sniff. It's not the bread that's gone bad. It's you who's gone bad. Su Yingzhu immediately pulled her sleeve back. He subtly pretended to take a sniff of her natural makeup-free beauty. Her face instantly turned bright red. Then in a fit of embarrassed anger, she said, "It's all because you were in the hospital. I haven't even been back to the hotel these past few days. I've been here taking care of you this whole time. How would I have had time to freshen up?" I quickly covered my mouth and nose, mumbled incoherently. "Then go take a shower, quick."
You stink.
Su Yingzhu was furious. Her eyes rolled around a few times. She grabbed my uninjured arm and bit down hard.
P2E.
So salty. After taking a bite, Su Yingzhu quickly spat a few times. I couldn't help but blush and waved his hand dismissively, muttering to herself, "Well, my wound can't get wet, you know. I haven't showered in days. What's wrong with a little showing? It's perfectly normal. Unlike you, little lady. You're starting to stink."
Aren't you ashamed?
Blushing with embarrassment, Su Yingzhu stamped her foot in a huff. She shot me a glare. "All right. I'm gonna go take a shower then. You stay right here, okay? And don't you dare run off before I get back. Su Yingju. With that, she practically fled the hospital room. I watched the hospital room door and let out a long sigh of relief. But the next second, I was hit by the stench of my own body. So I immediately decided to go take a shower myself. Actually, over the past few days, Su Yingju had offered to wipe my body for me more than once. But a sharp guy like me, I knew exactly what she was thinking. I turned her down a few times in a row. I headed into the bathroom, feeling pretty pleased with myself. I gotta say though, as expected of a VIP ward, even the bathroom has amazing soundproofing. Just as I was washing up with my good arm, just then, Gu Qinghan walked softly into the ward. Seeing that the ward was empty, Gu Qinghan couldn't help but feel a pang of anxiety. Over the past few days, every night before the two children go to sleep, they need to talk to me on the phone before they can fall asleep, both emotionally and logically. He should be thanking me properly. So, bright and early this morning, she took the two kids to her best friend's place and had Auntie Wang whip up a couple of dishes and even cooked a meal for her himself. After stewing a squab, he came to see Gu Qinghan. He looked all around but found nothing. He then made his way to the bathroom door, pushing it open with no hope left in his heart. And just then, a blast of hot air rushed out from the crack in the door. Through the swirling steam, Gu Qinghai could faintly make out an 8-pack. And me, suddenly appearing right in front of her, and let out a scream, startling Gu Qinghan. In a panic, I quickly blocked my view with my injured arm, only to be instantly drenched by the spray from the shower head. President Gu, don't you ever knock before coming into the bathroom. Gu Qinghan nodded and then shook her head with a sigh. After she came out of the bathroom, Gu Qinghan stared at my arm, which was still bleeding. She froze on the spot. I glanced over at Gu Qinghan, who was still spacing out, and said with a hint of annoyance, "Hey nurse, what are you spacing out for?" In a panic, Gu Qinghan frantically pressed the call button. While waiting for the nurse to arrive, all I can feel is the wound getting more and more painful. I really put a lot of force into that last move. I can definitely feel the wound starting to split open again. A moment later, a nurse came rushing in. The moment she saw my arm, her expression immediately turned serious as she tore open the gauze. She had only just peeled it back a little. The pain was so sharp I nearly jumped out of my skin. But the nurse's expression suddenly brightened. "Mister,
Yay.
would you please try not to move around? I need to get a clear look at the wound. Can I get some anesthesia?" Grimacing, I looked at the nurse and asked. The nurse shook her head.
No, I can't.
"Mister,
Yay.
or you could try to meditate on something to distract yourself." Hearing this, Gu Qinghan, who was standing nearby, her expression was conflicted. Suddenly, it was as if she had made up her mind. She gently pulled me into her arms. Then, she turned to the nurse and commanded, "Do it." The nurse just stared blankly at Gu Qinghan at first. Only after hearing the command did she start unwrapping the gauze on my arm. And all I could see was black. My entire face was suddenly pressed into something soft before I could even think. I felt a nurse starting to unwrap the gauze on my arm. But in Gu Qinghan's arms, the pain, though, still intense. It wasn't entirely unbearable. But as the last layer of gauze, the one stuck to the wound, was peeled away, an excruciating pain shot through the wound. The pain made my eyes snap wide open. I instinctively opened my mouth and bit down on whatever was in front of my mouth. Thankfully, the sharp pain faded in an instant. When I pulled myself away from Gu Qinghan's embrace, I saw several deep bite marks on the white shirt in front of me. I instinctively looked up. I saw that Gu Qinghan's face was deathly pale. Her teeth were clenched just as tightly. Her jaw muscles were clenched tight and beautiful. Her eyes seemed to glisten with unshed tears. I realized the person I had just bitten was Gu Qinghan. The corner of my mouth twitched, murmured to herself,
Sorry.
The words had barely left my mouth. Gu Qinghan saw the nurse about to turn her head and look over, so he tensed his arm again, using my head to cover up that wet spot. The sound I made was a little shaky from the pain. "Quick, let's see how his wound is. It's nothing serious. Just need to disinfect it and rebandage it." After she said that, she didn't even get a good look at the two of them. Then, she turned to go get the bandaging supplies. After the nurse left, it was only then that Gu Qinghan slowly pushed me away. Her face was deathly pale. Her hand was clutched tightly over her chest. I awkwardly reached out my hand.
Gu,
Are you all right?
"Do you want me to rub it for you? Or get lost?" A pained hiss escaped from Gu Qinghan's lips. Then, she shot me a glare. I gritted my teeth against the pain. I walked into the bathroom. I watched as he walked away, his steps a sign of defeat. I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. A few minutes passed. Gu Qinghan was still in the bathroom, but it was a nurse who walked in first, pushing a cart. Without a word, she grabbed my arm.
This might sting a little. Let me get this wound bandaged for you.
I was worried.
Gu Qinghan.
I let the young nurse tend to my arm. After the nurse finished the bandage and left, I got up and stood at the bathroom door. I hesitated for a moment. Slowly, I reached out and knocked on the door. "President Gu, is everything all right?" Should I call out? "Nah, she's fine." A weak voice came from inside, from the bathroom. So I just stood there at the door, waiting for her. A moment later, it was only then that Gu Qinghan emerged from the bathroom. Her complexion had improved slightly, but it was clear from her disheveled top. It was obvious that Jiejia had already checked the wound. Then, I turned to President Gu and asked, "Are you sure you don't need to call a doctor?" Gu Qinghan shook her head, feigning composure, and sat back down in the accompanying chair. Her movements were still a little stiff. Seeing this, I gritted my teeth. While Gu Qinghan wasn't looking, and yanked open her collar, I peered inside, worried. All I managed to see was a bite mark on her shoulder. And then, with a loud bang, the door to the hospital room was slammed open. I heard a voice before I even saw the person. First, Qinghan and Changxi appeared. He said you were here for a visit, but the words died in his throat. He Jiaji was just completely floored.
Gu Qinghan.
And quickly clutched her chest. A deep blush spread from her neck all the way across her pretty face. Meanwhile, I was sitting across from him, covering my face with an awkward chuckle. Qinghan, what's going on here? With a grim expression, he Jiaji glanced back and forth between the two of them. However, Gu Qinghan completely ignored him, staring daggers at me. He Jiaji's expression was a whirlwind of emotions, and shifted his gaze, and shot me a vicious glare. Explain to me. What was that little stunt you just pulled? Hearing the commanding tone in He Jiaji's voice, a sudden, inexplicable anger flared up inside me. Having lived 2 lives, I still remember the old master's teachings. Be neither servile nor overbearing. When you meet someone who's kind, you should be kind to them. But when you run into someone you don't know, and He's got this arrogant, high and mighty attitude, just beat the crap out of him. Where the hell did you come from? Let me explain. He Jiaji had never been in a situation like this before. He just sputtered, unable to get a single word out. Finally, his face turning beet red, he managed to say, "You asking for a beating," he said, rolling up his sleeves and stepping forward. Seeing he was about to make a move, a ruthless glint, long absent from my heart, finally surfaced. He looks just like some melodramatic character out of a trashy romance novel. The protagonist's face, all dolled up, let out a cold sneer.
What do I really need to explain myself to some sissy?
Why don't you take a look at that pound of makeup on your face? He Jiaji, who was always known for his gentle and refined demeanor, was now hit where it hurt. He lets out a weird cry and lunges forward. Quick as a flash, I stuck my leg out and landed a heavy kick right on He Jiaji. With a loud thud, He Jiaji landed flat on his butt. He clutched his stomach. His face was contorted in pain. You motherf. This guy still got the nerve to curse at me. He shot up from the hospital bed. He raised his foot, ready to stomp on him again. Stop fighting, both of you. Yi Qinghan let out a furious roar and stepped between them.
Brother He?
What are you doing here at the hospital?
Gu Qinghan turned her head to look at He Jiaji, who was lying on the ground. For some reason, she used to think He Jiaji was quite handsome. Hearing me say that, it was then that Gu Qinghan realized He Jiaji's face was caked with a thick layer of foundation. Even his eyebrows were meticulously groomed. A flicker of disgust suddenly sparked within her. Qinghan, I heard you went to the hospital to see that young security guard. I mean, she did save the kids after all. So I thought I'd come and see him too. There was a hint of grievance in He Jiaji's tone as he said the words cowardly security guard, but he deliberately put a bit more emphasis on it. I heard what he said. He raised his good arm, pretending he was about to swing again. He Jiaji stumbled back a few steps in fear. He said defiantly, "A pathetic security guard is just a pathetic security guard. You're just a nobody." Heh. Well, it's still better than not fighting back at all. I sneered coldly. Get back on the bed. That's enough. Gu Qinghan. He bellowed again.
Brother He?
I see how things have turned out. You should head back for now. Heh heh. I've prepared a special little gift for the night shift security guards today. He Jiaji said, stepping in front of me. He pulled a thick wad of cash from his pocket. Look at that thickness. Must be a solid 2,000 bucks. Seeing me staring at the stack of cash, a punchable smile spread across He Jiaji's face. All right, kid. Hands out, head down. And the money is all yours. A smile slowly crept across my face and snatched it with one hand. Haha. You know, the last guy who tried to buy my favor offered me 7,000. I didn't even bother. Who the hell do you think you are? He kept on and on. I raised my hand and slapped the cash right across He Jiaji's face. I looked at the scattered banknotes and the stunned He Jiaji. A wild smile played on my lips. You want to bet? I could bury you in this money.
Gu Qinghan.
Hearing my words, at first he was taken aback, then as if something suddenly clicked in her mind. But before he could figure it out, and then he saw He Jiaji clenched his fists in fury. Only then did she quickly shoot me a glare, and then push the furious He Jiaji out of the ward. About half an hour later, Gu Qinghan stormed in, pushing the door open. He didn't sit down either. She just stood there by the head of the bed, with her arms crossed, and just stood there, quietly watching me. I mumbled as I fell. I turned my back, refusing to look at Gu Qinghan. Gu Qinghan said, fuming, "You shouldn't have done that. He family is very powerful in Magic City," I said without even turning my head. So what?
Gu Qinghan clearly didn't expect me to say that.
Annoyed.
And sat down on the accompanying chair. Seeing that I was still just giving her the cold shoulder, she reached out her hand and forcefully turned my head around. She said, enunciating each word deliberately, "I'll admit, you did save my 2 children, but you can't just use that as a get-out-of-jail-free card." I sat up, facing Gu Qinghan. My surprise. "So what you're saying is, you'll protect me, won't you? And you're not going to fire me." Hearing this, Gu Qinghan sighed. "I just feel like we're not on the same wavelength with how flighty I'm acting right now." She waved her hand helplessly. Her tone was one of exasperation, as if disappointed that I wasn't living up to my potential. "You're still so young? You can't possibly plan on being a security guard forever, can you?" I cracked a grin. "You know, being the boss wife, I wouldn't say no to that. Yu Qinghan didn't even have to think about it, and succinctly spat out a single word. Slowly, I lay back down on the hospital bed. Gu Qinghan let out a soft sigh. She bent down and opened the lunchbox Shed brought in earlier. Considering you're the one who's hurt, considering everything you've done today, I'll let it slide this time. With that, she opened the lunchbox and took out the squab she had stewed herself, not even caring that the grease from the pigeon was all over her hands, and picked up a pigeon leg and brought it to my lips. Try some of my special stew, but my attention wasn't on the pigeon leg at all. Instead, I was just staring blankly at Gu Qinghan, who was right in front of me. Slowly, I reached out my hand and gently tucked a strand of her loose hair behind her ear. President Gu, you really do have a certain human touch to you.